Thank you very much once again. Let me welcome you back to this one meritocratic channel of ours. And this is MATRIC+NATED Specialist. Ensure that you are hitting the subscription button and ensure that you are sharing to those who are concerned. One of the key elements that you can make yourself as a favor, it is that listen to this content up until to the end of it. And then we are saying this is Geography Grade 12. This is Term 4 revision. It will cover a November examination. So this is the continuation of the previous content. Ensure that you are referring back again to the question, our playlist for 10 questions. If ever this question can arise, to answer it without any failure. And then it says 2.1, choose the correct description in column B for the term in column A. Your frontal thing is number and it is a content we have the number A, heat transfer, where the heat is transferred from. Now you can see that as if ever you can bend the edges placed to the into convex of like holder, or you call in 1.1 refracted, and then O is formed. Remember, that is the formation of marks. We are having a question by choosing from the list below. Each term may be used more than once. Write only the weight or the term next to the question number. So we are having yellowish, igneous rock, folding, faulting, sedimentary rock, metamorphic rock, the webping. And then a 2.2. This type of, such as the diamond, that is the metamorphic, the earth building. So when also, okay, earth's crust is bent slightly, that is a webping. In 2.2.5, rocks that forms in layers, it is called the sedimentary. And in 2.2.6, the breaking of the earth crust, it is called the faulting. And then in 2.2.7, rocks that form under extreme heat and a hot temperature, that is a metamorphic rock. And then in 2.2.8, we are saying that the rock that forms when the magma cools and it hardens, that is called the igneous rock. Okay, that it is again 3. It says figure 2.3, which shows the layers of the atmosphere, and then answer the following question. So I want us to go to 2.3 so that we see the structure that we are talking about. And we can see basically in 2.3 we've got the structure which we must foresee before we can even try to write any answer. So you can see that in 2.3 we've got the structure of the Earth's surface. And remember that we said that we've got layers, and then we've got the stratosphere, and then we've got the mesosphere, the lithosphere, and then we are having the cirrus, which is the type of cloud that is formed in the west layer. So you can see that as we are moving on, the density in terms of the height, it keeps on increases. What we should have seen there, and we should have flagged. Okay. And then it says now here, provide the correct labels for A, B, and C. We will go to the structure and see it. But I'm saying A and B, it is the troposphere, and C is the mesosphere. We will go and see it there. And then it says 3.2, explain what happens to the air temperature in the zone marked B. So we want the labels A, B, and C there. A, B, and C. So according to the structure, so A, B, it is the troposphere, and the C, it is the stratosphere. So that is what we can see there according to those labelings that we have studied there. Okay. And then if ever we are moving on again, we can see that we are still having some other work which we must answer that we are doing. Okay. And then we can see it says then we said A is the troposphere, and B is the troposphere, and C it is called mesosphere. It says what's XA 3.2.3.2. Explain what happens to the air temperature in the zone marked B. So we'll see the zone marked B there. What happens to the air temperature? And then 2.3.3, in which layer is the ozone layer found? and it is found in the stratosphere. We know that ozone layer, it is found where? In the stratosphere. Okay, and then if ever we are moving on again to these labelings, we can see that what happens there, the wind at B, that is the question, is asking us what happens. So we need to provide to the wind what is it that it is happening from there. Okay, and then if ever we are moving on again, we can see that we are having some right direct answer based on what is happening on the wind. The wind is increasing, so the wind will increase. That is what we need to understand there. All right, the wind there, temperature, it will increase. If ever we are moving on again, we can see that we are having 2.4. It says refer to the structure 2.4 on a cyclotic weather jet and answer the following question. So we are going to see the cyclotic weather map station. We have said that it covers or it shows us what temperatures are expected on each place. Saying that in 2.1.4, there's a question, and then it says, is the pressure cell marked A high pressure cell or a low pressure cell? Explain your answer. So pressure cell is high pressure, is low pressure, and then we need to give an explanation based on the answer. So how are we going to do that? We are going to cell A. So we can see that A here, this is the high pressure cell because of this what? There is high temperatures here. That is what we need to understand. There is what? There is high temperature. Okay, that there is high temperature. All right. And then let us go now and see the answers pertaining to these questions which have been asked. Right. And then if ever we are going on again, we can see that we are having some answers pertaining to the questions that have been asked on our content. All right. And therefore, you should remember to take notes when you are listening. Okay, as we have seen that in 2.4.1, we have said that that is a high pressure because of it is indicated. And then there is highest temperature of the cell, of the center of the cell, or there is high pressure increases towards the cell. And then we are saying that it is the answer that we can write. And then in 4, and then if ever we are moving on again to the remember that when you're still going to 2.5 condition being experienced in Cape Town, this of what have happened when in Cape Town has happened based on the symbol. The interpreter degrees, which you will see a dew point of 11 degrees, the cloud cover 50%, which represents a 10 direction. It is northwesterly, and then there is no precipitation in terms of there is no rain, is clear, and that it is for 2.4.2. I show you the answers collaborate to see. So we are saying this is down temperature half clouded, no rain, 10 there, and then if ever and the content that we are 0.4.3, what can people of Cape Town expect their hypnotic weather map? So the following day, how can it be like? And then into how to the on okay pertaining to this. Why? Because of 4.4. Let me show you a thing to you. We cold and rain. Why? It is because of this cold front. This is the line of the cold front that is approaching this direction in Cape Town, and these are the strong winds. It will be a very, very, very cold in Cape Town tomorrow, and these particular lines that they join the lines of equal pressure, they are called the isobars or the isobars. So these are the different types of isobars. All right. And then if ever we are moving on again, we can see that we are having some other questions which we need to cover pertaining to this content. Okay. And then if ever we are seeing very well, we are now in 2.5. And then in 2.5, it is given to say, read the following information on global warming issues. In 2.5, and answer the questions. Before we can go and also study the figure there, it is expected that we know the question that can be asked in 2.5.1. Explain what is global warming is. That is for 2 marks. And the figure in 2.5, okay, so that we can understand now the effect of this global warming that we are talking about. And we can see that we are going to see now the effects of global warming playing an important role. The sketch there in 2.5. So we are saying this is the figure of 2.5 in global warming, whereby we've got to read this particular statement so that we can understand that the concept of global. All right. So let us read them and understand very well before we can answer the question. Okay, and the topic is there. Beef cattle cause more emission than cars. That is the report that was written by Ben Cage. Rising petrol prices and global warming issues have sparked an interest in clean cars, but a report by the United Nations suggesting that the real culprit is not the car, but the cow. The world's surging cattle herds are the greatest threat on the planet. Cattle farming not only destroys rainforest, uses enormous quantities of fresh water, and results in inhumane treatment of animals, it also increases the destruction of the planet's atmosphere, Adams said. The clearing of vegetation for grazing, the use of fertilizers for feed, and the transportation of the product is responsible for 9% of all carbon dioxide emission. While carbon dioxide is the most common greenhouse gas, the gases released from the cattle heads and manure emit more than 1/3 of the methane, the greenhouse gas that warms the world 20 times faster than the carbon dioxide. Livestock also promote ammonia, a primary cause of acid rain. Cattle emit 18% of the greenhouse gases that causes the global warming, which beats the emission from the transportation combined. So what they are telling us here is that these cattle, in terms of agriculture, it has the denser capacity in terms of the global warming. It's today a vegetation, there's no plantation, and the place will be turned into the desert. Cows also require a massive amount of water. It takes about 9,900 liters of water to produce a little less than 1 liter of milk. So they take a lot now of this water, right? And then if ever we are moving on again, we can see that we have read the article there, and it says what is a global warming. So we need to understand the concept of a global warming there in 2.5.1. All right. And then when we are talking about the global warming in 2.5.1, we can see that it is referred to on this page. All right. So this is the concept 2.5.1. This is an increase in average global temperatures over time. That is the concept in 2.5.1. Okay. And then if ever we are moving on again, we can see that we are having some other question from the content there. And then according to this question, I would move to this content. And then it says in 2.5.2, explain 3 ways cattle farming is contributing to global warming. We want to know why cattle is contributing to global warming. And then in 2.5.3, write a paragraph in which you formulate suitable ways that can slow the global warming down. So we want ways that the cattle, remember that these cattle are transported, they are overgrazing on one. So these are the ways that they can lead to global warming. And then we want a paragraph whereby you are formulating suitable ways or strategies that can slow down global warming. That is 2.5.2 and 2.5.3. Okay, so we are saying that here, how does the kettle now contribute to global warming? It is number one, because of the gas. We are saying that the methane from the kettle and the manure absorbs the heat in the atmosphere. The clearing of forest for grazing grounds means less oxygen in the atmosphere and less carbon dioxide is therefore used because of the heat. And then the other aspect, it can be the transporting the products causes the car emission. So there's too much transportation that is taking place. In 2.5.3, the ways that we can reduce this carbon emission, we are saying that number one, we can reduce greenhouse gas emission. Number two, alternate energy sources. So the alternate is the other ways of using these sources of energy. The other one, we can reduce the methane emission, encourage vegetarianism to produce cattle in numbers, planting of more trees, promote sustainable agriculture, create laws to reduce carbon emission, impose fine for high carbon emission, reduce the population, and protect the forest, educate the public. That can be your answers pertaining to 2.5.3. All right, if ever we are moving on again, and we can see that we are having some other questions. Therefore, we are moving to 2.6. And then see there it says, read the article on earthquake in 2.6 and answer the questions that follow there in the earthquake. So we must move before we can answer the question in 2.6 there. We must move to reading an earthquake article in 2.6. So let us go to the article in 2.6 so that we grasp the concept very well for our content measure. So if ever we are going on again in 2.6, we can see that this is the earthquake matter in South Africa. All right, then let us read. We can see that we talk about the earthquake in South Africa, a matter of time. It was published by Bowser van Diervoort. A major earthquake in South Africa is a real possibility, but there is no way of predicting when it might occur. Durban has been singled out as an area of greatest concern in the event of an earthquake on the continent. So you can see that Durban, it is used as a major. So a major fault line starts underground at Port Shepstones and runs to the north through the KwaZulu-Natal. Dr. Hanadi from Umvoto, Africa, a company that specializes in earth science research and consultancy, said that earthquakes occur when the tectonic plates of the earth crust move, slide, shear, and grind against each other. The intervals between the major earthquake of the magnitude greater than the 7 ranged between 500 and 1,000 years, he said. In some parts of the Eastern Africa rift system, the largest major earthquake might have occurred 1,000 years ago. The next time might be due anytime soon. It is not a question of it, but when it would have been tomorrow, hardly said. So that is what we have read according to the article of the earthquake. And then we need to ensure that we get the questions because of we have read carefully this content of the earthquake very well. So in this question in 2.6.1, they say name the instrument used to measure the earthquake terms. So the term source for the earthquake, there's an instrument that is measuring them. We need to know that. And then in 2.6.2, it says read the following statement and choose a word from each of them, a set of brackets to make the sentences true. Write only each word you have chosen, one underneath, next to the other, next to the question number here. So is the content that we have been given here. So we measure the earthquake in 2.6.1. So we must understand according to this concept in 2.6.1, the earthquake is measured. So remember that in 2.6.1, we can see that the earthquake is measured with what we call the seismograph. The seismograph, it is what the temperature, it is now gentle according to the content. Then you get a mark for that. If some other question, it says now earthquake, they occur along the plate boundary, mostly under the ocean or the island. They occur where? In the ocean. They occur mostly under the common convergent or the divergent plate boundaries. The center of the earthquake or its origin in the crust is called the epicenter of the focus, and the vibration caused by the moving crust is called the seismic waves of the seismologist. So we are saying that we want the answers there. And then if ever we are moving on again, we can see that we are having some answers pertaining to this content that we have been making. And then we are saying in 2.6.1, the correct answer is the ocean. And then we are having divergent and focus. The last one is the seismic waves. They should be in order. They must be in order. Then you get your 4 marks. If ever we are moving on again, we can see that we are having some other questions. And therefore, we are saying in 2.6.3, they say explain why South Africans in particular should be concerned about the possibility of the earthquake happening in the future. And then why should we worry about it happening in the future? And then in 2.6.4, why do developing countries experience the effects of the earthquake more than developed countries? Give 2 answers. And then you need to give 2 reasons. 2.6.3. And then if ever we are moving on again, we can see that this is the answers that we can talk about. So we are saying that we are not prepared for an earthquake as they happen so really and unexpectedly. So why there is more in developing countries, we are saying that is because of this weaker infrastructure, lack of technology to predict earthquake, no early warning system, and lack of plan of emergencies. And then in developed cities, why then is the case? We can see that number one, we are having that the developed cities, they have buildings that are designed to withstand earthquake, the stronger infrastructure that is facilitated, the technology to predict hours or days in advance before the earthquake can occur, and the good warning systems that they can arise, and the planned emergency system. And 2 of them, they are enough to get you 4 marks. Okay. If ever we are moving on again, we can see that we are having some other questions pertaining to our work that we need to cover. And then in this instinct again, we can see that we are having some other questions that they need our attention. Let us go to those particular questions. Okay, you're right. Sorry about that. And then we are saying that to people, when the earthquake of the magnitude of 7.9 or more hits the area, both discuss both the immediate and the long-term effects for 8 marks. So 4 for immediate and 4 for rise. Okay. And then if ever we are moving on again, we can see that our answers, they are there. Okay, right. And then we are saying that the immediate effect is that killed, the killing of people. Number 2, power lines, they will be destroyed, the loss of power, and the chances of the electrocution will take place. The water lines is going to be destroyed, increasing the chances of flooding. Roads will be damaged, preventing the emergency to rescue. Telephone lines will be destroyed. People cannot call for help. People are injured and hospitals get crowded. Some people won't get help. That is immediate effect. And the long term, this is the long term. People remain homeless for a long time as they cannot rebuild homes. People have no food or water. People have no clothes. Infrastructure costs millions to fix. flood waters can spread disease, medicines run out, when humanitarian aid stops, people are left to fend for themselves. No money. If place of work is damaged, it will be closed down. So those are the long-term effects. All right. And then you get your marks. So if ever we are moving on again, before we this chapter, we must go and look at the question that it can follow. All right. And then we are going to the other question, whereby we are in 2.7. So it says in 2.7, refer to 2.7 figure. It shows the intrusive volcanism and answer the question that follow. In 2.7.1, explain the term or the concept that is given, intrusive volcanism, and identify the features marked A and B. Let us go to 2.7. So you can see that this is 2.7. So you can see that we are having the neck, the dike, the seal, the dike, the stock, and they say we must label point A, B, and the C. That is the question. So check those right. If ever we are moving on again, we can see that we are having some answers on our concept. Okay, and then we are saying that number A, the 7.1. A, then we can see that the concept there, it is the volcanic activity in the earth crust or under the surface. You get your 2 marks. A is a batholith, B is the laccolith. And then we are saying in 2.7.3, the dike is vertical and the seal is horizontal. You get the marks for that. The last question that we can get there from our content, and we can see that we can go to the last question. So we've answered the horizontal and vertical of the difference formation of the dike and the seal. Vertical, the dike; horizontal, the seal. 2.7.4, explain the importance of the batholith when they are exposed to the surface for human. The importance of the batholith when they are exposed to the surface now of the human. Okay, and then when we are saying that the importance now of the batholith is that batholith are made out of granite, which can be mined for building materials. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for tuning on. I hope you tune on for more and hit the subscription button, share to those who are